What happens when corruption and digital censorship peak in a nation and the youth demands an overhaul? Nepal just gave an answer to that, to its own government and to the world that watched astounded. The Gen Zs of Nepal began a social media movement against nepotism, privileges of those in power, and pervasive corruption that eventually forced resignations, including that of Prime Minister KPS Oli and his ministers, in the deadliest social unrest the country has seen in decades. Dark smoke covered the skies on September 8th and 9th. At least 51 lives, including that of a 12-year-old boy, were lost. 2 nights of chaos saw thousands of people, mostly students, take over the streets of capital Kathmandu and other cities to make their voices heard. The Supreme Court and Parliament buildings were set on fire as student-led protesters clashed with the armed forces on the streets. Nepalese government ordered 26 social media platforms to register with its Ministry of Communication. When companies failed to do so within the 7-day deadline, the platforms were blocked. Facebook, Instagram, WhatsApp, YouTube, X, formerly known as Twitter, were among these social media platforms. A digital-savvy Nepalese youth had had enough, but the ban was just a catalyst and the Gen Z's frustration ran deeper. Worsening youth unemployment to lack of economic development fueled the movement.
A lot of people were expressed the sentiment that yes, perhaps this needed to happen. Perhaps there needed to be an extreme kind of protest that would change the very face of Nepal, because unless that happened, the old guard, the old politicians, the old leaders would find a way to keep holding on to power.
And soon, Nepal was witnessing a protest like never before. Interestingly, the protest did not have any specific leader, just youth collectives that were calling to action. Discord, a communication platform where users create and join servers, was used to coordinate the protest participation, suggesting protesters wear school uniforms and join peacefully. But eventually, the protest remained anything but peaceful. Violence ensued when police used force. Water cannons, batons, rubber bullets were used to quell the protest. Curfews were imposed, but it became impossible to silence the brutal suppression. Military forces patrolled the area, and airports had to shut down briefly. Amid the chaos, the protesters stuck to their demands: the government to put an end to corrupt practices and to lift the ban on social media.
उन्होंने जब ये प्रोटेस्ट बुलाया तो उसमें काफ़ी सारे जनता जमा हो गई. तो हुआ क्या कि जेन जी जो करंट जनरेशन है उसको जेन एक्स ने भी सपोर्ट कर दिया, जो थोड़े से एल्डरली थे, उन्होंने भी उसको सपोर्ट करा एंड जनरल पब्लिक सपोर्ट पाए. तो काफ़ी सारा जब पब्लिक जमा होने लगी तो गवर्नमेंट उसमें घबरा गई. गवर्नमेंट ने सोचा कि ये तो हमारी काफ़ी बुराई होगी और वेरियस सोशल मीडिया साइट्स में आएगा, तो उन्होंने बल का प्रयोग करा. जब बल का प्रयोग करा तो वो झड़प बढ़ने लगी. जब बढ़ी तो पुलिस ने उठा के उसमें फायरिंग कर दी. बस वो जो फायरिंग था वो एक बहुत ही गलत चीज़ था.
So there was this kind of acknowledgement that yes, we needed a radical change, but perhaps the cost was a little too high.
After the casualties were reported, an emergency meeting was called and the ban on social media platforms was lifted. But the hounding of ministers and their family members and destruction of politicians' properties show a different side to things. The nation's youth had been fed up seeing politicians' children posting about their lavish lifestyles when the regular youth was struggling to get by. Nepokids became a defining point of the massive outrage. Videos of politicians' kids and their luxurious lifestyle started doing rounds on social media. Designer clothes, expensive trips, and luxury cars juxtaposed the struggles of Nepal's youth battling unemployment and financial distress. The slogans became symbolic of the persistent inequality. Oli was forced to step down amid the violence and unrest. An eerie calm settled over Nepal after 2 days of chaos as military soldiers patrolled the streets. Protesters met with military officials in Kathmandu to discuss a transitional leader.
There is uncertainty. People are confused. They don't know what is going to happen, especially the older generation or like even, millennials. Because we do feel like this is not our protest, that we didn't lead this. This belongs to the Gen Z, and it's up to them to decide what is the way forward.
Nepal's first woman Supreme Court Chief Justice, Sushila Karki, will lead an interim government. The Nepali army continues to enforce curfews in Kathmandu and other cities. They have called for calm and dialogue. Will there be meaningful anti-corruption reforms and investigations into protest casualties? Will Gen Z enter negotiations and get representation in the interim government? Only time will tell.